representative of your block. They would go down with any complaints, any requests to the city of Philadelphia, get things approved and whatnot. So during the summer, this might sound really crazy to some people who aren't from urban areas and cities and that things of that nature. They would get permits to have a block party. So they get approved for however many hours the block party is going to be, and especially during the summer when all the school's out and kids, not in that area, not a lot of people had the money to attend like a little summer camp and stuff like that. So what they would do is around the corner we would have box lunches. We'd line up for these little free box lunches. They would have little sandwiches, little cookies, I don't know if they had yogurts, but just little snacks for everybody, and they were free. And they'd hand them all out to the kids of the block. They would I don't know if this was legal, but they would regardless. During the block parties, they would open up the pump, the fire
water
pump.
plug, as we call it.
The water plug. And
Will Smith said, "Pop open a water plug just for old time's sake." Very Philly thing,
pretty much. And we would play in the pump in the streets when we had the block party. No cars would come down. It's essentially a big old sprinkler for everybody to just party and hang out there. And they just had events. They had music. They had food. People on the block would kind of like make their own food and give it to some of the kids. And it was like
a free amusement park for a day,
pretty much,
with all of your friends.
Yeah,
they're all there.
And it's funny because it's like people from small towns have fairs. They have carnivals. They have little festivals that they go to, and they can essentially socialize there. And your kid's going to this school, or we all go to the same school, whatnot. When you grow up in a big city like Philly or even New York, or an urban environment, you don't really get to know your neighbor like that, unless you're really involved. But at the end of the day, people would like to be private and to themselves. So essentially, this is a huge social event where you get to learn who your neighbors are. You get to meet your neighbors, and
that's why I asked you the question, because that's the moral of the story. That's exactly why we started this event. We like to say, this is the cloth we're cut from. We want to be able to, just like back in the day, where say I'm left outside. My mom is at work or something. She will leave me in Miss XYG's care, and that's fine. And if I do something wrong and their kid did something wrong, I'm getting hit just like their kid's getting hit. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because we protect each other. We take care of each other. We commute. This is the community. We're responsible for each other. Hey, you're out of town? I'll take your trash out. No problem. It's the little things. You want me to get your mail? Sure. It's not asking too much. But now, when you do things like you don't approve block party permits, how can we ever get an opportunity to know our neighbor? All we'll do is judge them and think, oh, they're doing something. And you can have whatever perception you want on certain things, but circumstance causes a lot of it. Oh, this person, they just sell drugs, or they just smoke drugs, they just drive fast cars. But they're also probably a really great person despite some of the negative they do, but you only see that one thing. You don't get a chance to bond with them.
Yeah, and a lot of people say community, and they don't really understand what that word means. If you break it down, common unity, it's
bars.
It's like you live. It's for people who aren't from Philly. When you live in the city, you live in a row home. There's no single. I mean, there's single homes, but they're in the suburbs. They're in the, much nicer areas. But if you're living in the hood, you're living in a row home, which means you're sharing walls with people. Every single person. There's no front yard. There's no backyard. There's maybe an alley in between each house that you share.
If you have mice, I got mice.
Exactly. If you have roaches, I got roaches. So it's when I mean. Which is also really crazy because of how close we live and how compact we are together in that city. People really, we stay out of each other's business.
Yeah.
Regardless, granted, we have the block parties where you learn who everybody is, but you kind of stay out of each other's business, even though you share both sides of your wall.
Right.
So we live in row homes, and like I said, community. Common unity. You need to know you want to know who you're living next to.
Right.
You want to know if
much more comfortable.
Your neighbor is a great person where you can, hey, can you watch my kids while I run to the store? Or, hey, my neighbor's a psychopath that I need to make sure I keep an eye on and call the cops if something crazy goes down, you know? And it's just, we've gone so far away from those things. And that's another reason why I love the block so much, because you started with the 4 blocks in 4 weeks.
Not technically.
Not well. I mean, I know you started with socks and stuff, but I mean, like,
that was
one of the biggest events.
Yeah, definitely.
You know,
it kicked into super gear.
Like. Exactly. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's all about going out, doing something beneficial for everybody in that community. Doing some.
And may I also add, it's communities that we're not from. For the most part.
You know,
these are completely random areas: South Philly, North Philly, West Philly. Any neighborhood. We go into neighborhoods that have some of the highest crime rates, some of the hardest, toughest, roughest, baddest dudes that we may not know. And we could be the toughest, baddest dudes from our hood, but the way it is in Philly, it doesn't matter. There's so many small hoods, so many bad areas that your reputation is only for those 5 blocks. And you go over there. But when you go into a community with a positive message, with just a good energy, those guys aren't bothered at all. We never felt fear knocking on these doors, getting these signatures, going on these streets, cleaning them up. There have been people on the street. It's just like I may have talked about this on the last podcast. Quick story. I've mentioned it in my we won an award, by the way. That's another improvement.
Yeah, I did see that. I love
we're
that.
Honored for Black History Month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I loved it, dude. Like, I could have cried. We won the Game Changer Award presented by CBS and Cherry Gregg and KYW News Radio. So, biggest thing we've done so far. And when we gave our speech, we were ourselves to the 100th degree, and that's something I can't preach enough. So I told the story about how, you know, being ourselves also has a flip side of the coin. I get pulled over on North 26th Street, a block that we've done the 3 block parties on to this point. At that point, it was only 2. And somebody walks by, a guy who, you know, he may be characterized by some neighbors as a bad guy. You know, I think he's a great guy. But he walks by and he just shakes his head and kind of laughs at the cops and says, they pulled over the block on the block. And thankfully, those police officers, they didn't give us tickets. They, you know, heard us out. We asked them for their community relations officer. We got that information. 3 weeks later, those cops were playing football with the kids, and one of them even came up to me and asked, what do you need us to do? I was in shock. I'm like, I don't know. Usually you're telling me what to do. So it's like, you know, going into these communities and getting respect from the officers in the community, from the, you know, the street guys in the community, obviously the parents in the community, and most importantly, the kids. Dude, that same block, that same day when we did our what do you call it, our canvassing to get the signatures, this kid Randy, he's one of our favorite kids. May I add, he's a handful to say the least. He comes into the corner store that we're in, just getting some water or whatever. It was like 100 degrees that day. And he sees us, and his face lit up like we were celebrities. He said, yo, the block gives back. He might have been 8 years old. He looked at Tommy and was like, are y'all going to do it again? And we told him, yeah. He's like, oh, man, I'm going to wear my green sneakers with the block shirt from last year. And we're like, how does he, awesome. This is what he looks forward to. Yeah. Like, this is his Super Bowl, you know, because this is also a kid who doesn't have a dad in his life. At the same token, I know I'm kind of, you know, spiraling off stories here, but no, I'm emotionally invested.
That's what makes bringing everybody, and that's what makes you guys being one of my favorite nonprofits, because it's not that just you're doing good, you're bringing everybody together.
It's a personal touch.
Yeah, it's just like we've explained it and we talked about it before. I've talked about it with Kev, Keem, and I'm sorry, Kev.
You have talked to me.
Yeah, I have talked to you. You're right here. I talked to Kev, Tommy, and Felix. You know, and the last podcast you were on here,
4 and 7.
It's more about people getting out and doing it themselves, because as cliche as that line from that song sounds, I believe the children are the future. That's exactly what they are. They are going to be the trendsetters. They are going to be the future. And if you instill in them those principles of, hey, have some pride in your neighborhood, have some pride in your community, do something great. Like that kid, he might be a troubled youth because he doesn't have a father. He's going through whatever he's going through. But the simple fact is, you have, and I don't use this term lightly, but adults coming through with these events, showing him a little more attention than he's used to.
That's the thing,
you know? And it's like, wow, I got a voice. Wow, these guys, these adults heroes
that
are
look similar to me, act similar to me, also look different from me. My friend Tommy, this is obviously audio. He's a white man. And that is my best friend. That is also my best business partner a man could ever ask for, even though this isn't a business, but just the best person to go into a venture with, as well as the rest of the squad. Great people. Tommy pointed out something to me with Randy when I say, man, that kid's annoying. He says, yeah, but you know what? Those are the ones that need it the most.
Yeah.
He's a handful because he, like you say, he's not used to this attention. He's not used to this type of energy. Like, wow, these people want to be around me. And when we had the cops there on that block, you know, he runs up to the cop and says, yo, my dad's in jail, something like that, or you arrested my dad. So he probably has a negative connotation of the police officers based on that. But when we get them out there, we put them together to play football with them, to have a good time. We change that image.
Yeah, man.
And, you know, so now he still looks at his dad as his hero, but doesn't look at the cops as the bad guys.
Right.
You know, and also can look at us and see we're good guys. Also look at his block and see how fun it is to clean his block, how he can get free pizza for cleaning his block. You know, it's simple things that every man can do, you know.
You're burning positive images and positive connections in his life from these. To him, might be bigger than the world, but to you guys, it's not to take away from it. I was gonna flip
that though. Even to me, like
right, but
that
that's
conversation with Tommy changed my perspective.
That's what I mean. Not to take away from what you guys do, but to that kid, it's the universe.
Oh yeah. To me, it's just a day.
Exactly.
To him, it's his life.
Like you guys you guys do this every year. To him, it's like, I got select. I'm the one. I'm special. Everything here is special, and you're ingraining those principles and those ideas. The cops are here. I can have a conversation without being afraid to go up to this police officer saying, "You arrested my dad." As
I was nervous when he said, "I was thinking, oh God."
As funny as that. I mean, it might not. It's not really that funny, but the fact that he doesn't know, so it's funny that he just,
and we can now break that barrier for him.
Exactly.
Teach him that, and this was the captain that he said it to. The captain, like, he laughed it off, like, no, we didn't. He explained, so he spoke to him.
Exactly. You start the conversation,
dude.
Where
there's pictures. I'm sorry, but there's like pictures of him on our Facebook or Instagram somewhere where he's wearing the police uniform. They all let him wear the hat. They let him wear like the cuffs and everything. And then we were at one point, he's like, "Can I hold your gun?" And obviously he didn't.
Right.
You know, this innocent kid got to have such a good time with police officers that would have never happened.
Exactly. And to me, you know, especially with the way social media is and how much bad flack the cops are getting, it's like there's so many good cops out there. At the end of the day, they serve and protect. At the end of the day, they do what they like. They don't have to do what they do. And the fact that they do it is like they are essentially the real heroes. Yeah. Whatever opinion you might have on them, they're people just like us. But the difference is like that kid can go up to them. He has a different perspective of who cops are.
Right.
He might even be a cop himself.
Right.
You know, just
and that perspective just keeps growing. You're never too old to, you know, feel that sense of positivity. I'm hoping that some of the neighbors also seeing it. The neighbors who thought, oh, the cops don't help this community, then they changed that. I myself, tons of bad experiences with cops. Been robbed by them, been, you know, taken advantage. But then again, I've done wrong in my life, you know, where I've turned around, I've been arrested, and the cops did things they didn't have to do for me. They're like, hey, you know, we know we're arresting you at your job. We can go in here and do it this way. We can do it this way. I'm like, no, you know what? I appreciate you letting me do that. They also said, oh, you know what? You got your dog at the house. Can we, help you make a call to figure that out? I'm thinking, like, are these guys officers or are they saints? Like, they don't have to do none of it. They could be jerks. I did the wrong thing.
You know, it's funny. You ever heard a cop walking the beat? You know what that means?
Yeah. Beat cops.
Yeah, beat cops. So back in the day, cops would get assigned a neighborhood. Because they either lived in that neighborhood or was associated very closely with that neighborhood, to the point where people knew who these cops were as people. So they didn't look at the cop like, damn, it's the cops. They were like, oh, it's Bob. Not that I'm gonna take advantage because I know who Bob is, but more like I'm not just, you know, I talked to Trixie in a previous podcast and we were talking about, would you rather be feared or respected?
That's a big
and
one.
It's like, oh, I respect this cop. I'm not afraid of him, which gives him the perception of, approachability. I can approach this cop with a problem. Hey, this is going on.